New stock symbol. So the VIXY, we're still looking into this. This is what it looked like out of sample. I think it has potential. I'm still working on it. I'm probably going to release this later in the week, the VIXY, and it's going to have its own lunar cycle. It's going to have its own 4 to 6 day cycle. This should give us more insight into US equities. Now, people are asking me about the Russell and the Dow and the NASDAQ. And here's the problem with doing that, is that they're all so different that they can create more problems because you can have 4 different markets going at different Fed juices at different points. I like to focus on the S&P because I feel like that's what the Fed's focusing on. So for me to start putting in IWM and DIA and QQQ, it just creates kind of a chaotic situation. So I'm going to leave the S&P as its own entity, as its own service. And then the VIXY can be a proxy for that. I mean, it can be a proxy for markets and different ways to assess market sentiment. This is obviously a sentiment indicator of some sort. When the volatility is low, the markets typically go high, but I'm not going to put in the diamonds or any of that stuff. So just to let you know, this is one that I'm looking at. This is Paychex. I think it looks pretty good. The only thing I don't like are the gaps in any of these stocks, because if we're looking at spread plays, I don't like it when it has gaps. This one has a few gaps here on the way up, but probably these are around earnings and other news events. So for the most part, Paychex is a pretty stable looking stock. So I'm looking into it. It takes a lot to go off a checklist to make sure that these can qualify to be in the actual service. So I'm looking at it. It's a stock of interest, let's just say. This is MicroStrategy. A subscriber asked me about this. This is a company that has a high correlation to Bitcoin. I believe they purchase a lot of Bitcoin. My main concern is, how is this Fed use optimizing? It looks pretty good here from what I can see. The only issue with MicroStrategies is that it has these gaps. You see these big gaps into here. So it's a little dangerous if you're trying to do spread strategies or conservative strategies when you got these gaps, but I'm willing to look into it. It's a kind of a Bitcoin proxy. So this stock ETF service, you can think of it like a proxy service. There's a lot of stocks that are proxies for other markets. This one's for Bitcoin. Obviously, when you get those stocks that bounces back and forth like this, these Bollinger Bands really become important, because stocks are not quite as wild, not nearly as wild as the futures are. So these things can bounce back and forth off of these bands, and so there's always a risk that this can come right back and forth into these bands. So when you are at the lower end of a band, obviously that can be a trend, but that can also be a reversal point. So this is why I think this one got a little crazy on this lower band. Same thing on the upper band here. This one is on the lower band, but it looks like it's trying to break out lower. And clearly, if Bitcoin does collapse this month along with gold, that this stock could be into trouble too.